Hello and welcome to episode 2 of The Deep Deep. I'm Astrea Taylor, the Llewellyn author of several books, including Intuitive Witchcraft and the forthcoming book, Inspiring Creativity Through Magic. This podcast is all about bringing awareness, insights, magic, and a romance of the other world to your everyday life. I'm starting off this show with a series of the top realizations I had in the past year because they're so fresh and so powerful. And today I want to talk about the magic of rest. For me, this was a huge lesson to learn the past year. And I've shared how I've received an injury recently that's limited my mobility quite a bit. And I'm working with that, hopefully healing through that. But that really was an indicator in my many months of rest. So before that time, I'm guessing a lot of us can relate to the feeling of having been busy for a very long time. I felt like I was burning the candle at both ends, and I was doing all the things, including things that I love, like gardening, writing books, and going to festivals, and having vacations, and seeing friends. And I was also doing a lot of things that felt more like chores, like responding to most of the people and watering all of the houseplants that I didn't buy for myself and doing all kinds of odd jobs just because somebody asked and helping these people and learning this and fulfilling that expectation. And that's all while going to work full time and taking care of my home, my husband, and a very opinionated cat. And I realize a lot of people are way more busy than that as well. And I have a lot of empathy for you. So this one's for you. In a lot of ways, I felt like I was a spinning top, and every time I started to slow down a little bit, I respun myself faster to do something more. And a lot of it was really fun and exhilarating. And I had some amazing moments that were super transcendent. And then I had some moments that were pure drudgery as well. And with my injury, I'm still healing from it. I can barely lift my right arm right now, and I'm right-handed, hence the podcast as opposed to doing a lot of writing stuff right now. But anyway, this injury was a big sign that I had to take a break, slow down, and focus on healing. So it also correlated with this time where I was trying to make plans for my winter, and I just kept feeling like, no, don't make any plans. No, don't do that thing. You need to decline that thing. You need to make room for uncertainty and be okay with that. I would just feel this very strong no feeling in my guts when I tried to make plans. So luckily I didn't have a lot of things that I promised to do at that time. But in any case, this was a whole thing, and I knew that I was reaching a point of burnout. And I knew I was there because this is really weird, but some of you might be able to relate to this. I started groaning like Grandpa Simpson. Whenever I got up or sat down or even thought about work, like this noise came out of my mouth like, and it really was funny every time it happened. But it was also kind of weird because it was my body making that noise, like literally telling me that I was as tired as an old man. So when the time finally came for me to rest, I was ready. I feel like I picked up that metaphorical spinning top. And the funny thing is that I thought everything around me would still and slow down along with me because I was standing still. But I was shocked when it felt like everything was still spinning around me, even though I wasn't. And in the first stages, I laid around a lot to catch up on rest. I just had to do that to heal my arm, and it, has gotten better. And I was able to just be still. And in that stillness, I just breathed and felt what was in my body. And I started to release some of the pent-up energy that was stored within me. It was a huge decompression, and I had a sense that I didn't even know that I was carrying around so much compressed energy. And so every day I lie down and felt the energy in my body, and I scanned for clusters of stuck energy. And I released them one by one as I became aware of them. It was kind of like, oh, there's something stuck in my shoulder. Let's relax that. Oh, there's a pit in my stomach. Let's relax that too. And I listened to what the energy said too, because I feel like there were stuck stories along with the stuck energy. And maybe stuck emotions as well. So I released all of that as they came up, and it took a while for me to just get around to all these other little chores that I had just been putting to the wayside, right? And it's really funny because during this time, I remember just staring at the walls kind of as if I were seeing them for the first time, even though I've been living in my house for a little bit over 5 years now. And it's funny, I would just notice the walls and where they intersected with the ceiling, where they intersected with each other. And it was a really weird thing to notice, but I think that was my sense of surroundings coming back online. And that's my proprioception, which was really beneficial for me because a lot of times when I'm rushed, I don't know about you, but I can be a little clumsy. Even though I'm a fire dancer and I move with intention and I love dancing and being in my body, sometimes I just am walking and I don't realize there's a wall right there and I have to dodge it at the last moment. So I'm still learning a lot of these kind of lessons, and that's okay. Sometimes we just have to go back to the basics sometimes, and that's why they're so helpful, right? So, the stage of magical resting, that initial stage took a few weeks, but eventually I reached this neutral point and it was delicious. And I knew I was there because I was no longer decompressing. I had nothing else in my body to release, or my mind or my emotions or anything to release. And at that stage, when I looked at the walls, all I saw were walls. I didn't get any information to take in and to remember and anything like that. And instead of that, I was actually a little bored. And that was a great sign. That was a great sign that I was actually ready to do something new in my life. So this neutral still point was so beautiful because I knew that I could go anywhere from there. I could continue to rest and try to find some more resting things. I could go in a blaming direction. I could go into a positive direction. I could go into a workaholic function again. But I really had to consciously decide where I wanted to go and decide how I wanted to show up and what I wanted to do now. So I revisited my values at this time, and I evaluated what I thought was important to me, what felt really important in my body in this restful state versus what I thought was important in the past, what I had prioritized, that wasn't actually that important, but somehow I was carrying those values with me anyway. So I created this new intention for myself and how I spend my time. And that was huge. And after that, I felt this newness kind of start to grow within me. I was still resting and kind of dormant, but it was different. And I know I like to speak in metaphors, but I think they really help people feel things. So I'm going to continue to do that. The best metaphor I have for this kind of dormant growth was kind of like I was a tree or a shrub that just started putting out new growth, new leaves and new branches, and also new flower buds. But I felt like those flower buds were just very tightly curled up at first, like they weren't ready to show themselves to the world. But the more awakened I became to my purposeful sense of self, the more those flower buds opened. And it was kind of like listening to the body and untangling those knots of compression. It was kind of like allowing myself to give life to my new intention, my new values, and how I wanted to show up. So it did take some more restful time at that point, but it was highly worth it. And recently, I've returned to everyday life, and it's been great, actually. With my new intention statement, life has been really different. I find that I can pause more easily at any time before automatically reacting to the world around me. I can choose to say, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to go into that rabbit hole of weird stuff that somebody's saying. And I'm just going to give myself some peace and some grace and, just carry myself and that sense of rest and peace that I cultivated instead of submitting myself to wanting to please other people or the workaholism that is very sneaky and can sneak back into life very easily. I also found that I could tap into my intuition easier and make decisions that would support my new lifestyle. On episode 1, I was talking about doing what you feel called to do and veering away from the ick. So that was a huge lesson that I'm relearning. I have relearned, and it's even better now. And I feel like I'm back in the world and things have changed. I listen to my body for the intuitive feeling of a hell yeah, instead of that hard pit of uncertainty or that uneasy, queasy feeling that sometimes or nearly always turns into a no. And I have this nightly mini practice of magical rest, where every night after I read a witchy book for a little bit, I release any energy I may be holding on to in the hopes of reaching neutral again. It's kind of just like a 24-hour every day, every night, I guess, kind of practice. And it's a mini version of my deep rest, my deep magical rest. But even that little bit just kind of erases some of the stress and pressure that could cultivate had I let it, if you know what I mean. So these days I'm also more aware of what triggers me and when I feel like there's a slippery slope, when I can't say no to something. And I'm also aware of what happens to show me that it's time to take a prolonged magical rest. That Grandpa Simpson groan is a sign for me. So if I ever catch myself going, then I know it is time to take some more magical rest. And I think a lot of us could get some of this magical kind of rest on a vacation sped up. That hasn't been an option for me lately. I'm looking into that, just so you know. But I hope this is insightful for you, because this experience has been just such a reawakening. I really needed this time, and I've come through the other side with such a wonderful feeling. So I would like to end this episode by saying that I hope you're inspired to take magical rest. It's a necessary part of life. And so is shifting back into the world with intention, not by accident, but with purpose and a vision of how we want to move forward. It's worth taking the time to rest and recover, to reach neutral, and then create new growth and allow ourselves to bloom in the directions we want to go. Your peace of mind is worth it, and you deserve magical rest and renewal. I hope this inspired you and encouraged you to live more authentically. Thanks for listening to The Deep Deep. I'm Astrea Taylor. Until next time. To get your very own values sheet, visit my webpage, astreataylor.com. Go to the offerings and check out the freebies. There is a values sheet that has a ton of values that you can choose to see whatever is most important to you right now. I recommend that you get this and then you circle the ones that are important to you and you cross out the ones that are not important to you, and you put that on your refrigerator so you remind yourself of your values that are your own and not someone else's. This is a free offering for a limited time only, so go to my website and check it out.